Hi guys, I'm in the Ukraine to do a spot of dark tourism. See, 28 years ago, there was a huge worldwide nuclear disaster at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant that had a reactor explode. Nowadays, you can take tours into the contaminated area, which is exactly what I'm going to do today. Okay, so this is the tour bus. There's only 4 of us on this tour, so it's super sweet. So it shouldn't be too crowded, and I should be able to show you loads of stuff. That's our tour guide, really cool dude. What's your name, sorry?
My name is Igor.
Igor handed us some information stating what we could and couldn't do. Once read and signed, we stuck our wristbands on and got our Geiger meter. The Geiger meter is the device that scans the atmosphere for radiation. It beeps a lot when there's a lot of radiation in the air. A normal level is between 0.12 to 0.20. A level to get worried about is anything 10 times that amount. Before we leave, Igor warns how easy it is to become contaminated.
You can touch it. You can accidentally collect some tiny particles by your shoes on your clothes, then somehow inhale it and die.
We jumped in the car and drove out of the city. The route to Chernobyl from Kiev takes about 2 hours. The landscape is very flat in this part of the Ukraine, and long roads are broken with small villages on the way. We arrived at the first checkpoint, the main entrance to Chernobyl town and the exclusion zone.
We've just stopped at the first checkpoint to get our passports checked before we head into the exclusion zone, so we're really close now. Everything's getting a bit more spread out, a bit more desolate, and pretty excited, so let's go.
As we pass the first checkpoint, Igor gets a book out and starts showing us pictures of villages that we won't be able to visit on the tour, whilst driving. Driving down the long road to Chernobyl, the leafless trees reveal empty, dilapidated houses in the woods. All these houses were deserted when the disaster happened. We stop at the official entrance sign to Chernobyl town. Nearly everything in this place is original and the same as it would have been 30 years ago, but this sign had the old Soviet hammer and sickle symbol replaced. This area felt familiar. It was well kept and the cars, despite their age, were not simply abandoned. About 2,000 to 3,000 people live here in Chernobyl as part of a long-term decontamination plan, but it's a huge space that needs maintaining. The general public can't live here. These signposts are in memorial to all the villages that were evacuated within the exclusion zone, 140 in total. Here, Igor points to a metal candle holder that represents a village on a concrete map. The raised section of the concrete demonstrates the highly contaminated area, but the map excludes Belarus to the north, which suffered an equal amount of radioactive fallout.
We're at checkpoint 2, we're just signing a waiver to say that if we get radioactive we're not going to sue or anything, because we're heading into quite an increased radioactive zone. It's like the 10k zone. So we're about to head off now. Okay, we just got through checkpoint 2 and we've arrived at this war memorial and a spooky old kindergarten, but apparently there's a radioactive hotspot just here. So I've got my Geiger counter and I just place it and it's just shot up from 0.70 to 8.75, 839. So what does this mean?
It means run away.
It means run away?
Soil is contaminated.
This is contaminated soil?
Yes, if you step here, you maybe collect some radioactive particle on your shoes. But the best way to decontaminate it, believe me, this is the best way. It works. Do like this.
Just
usually it's
knock it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not convinced about Igor's decontamination method, we headed toward the kindergarten.
This place is pretty freaky. Well, I'm walking around the kindergarten and it's really eerie. Just like beds and babies' toys, kids' toys everywhere. It's kind of, it's like a horror movie.
We drove on to the epicenter of the nuclear explosion, reactor number 4.
So just over there, 28 years ago, bang. That's it. Right over this side is where they're constructing a new kind of cage, they call it a sarcophagus, to stick over the leaking radiation that's coming out. In fact, you can check on our Geiger meters. It's currently 2.46. As we get closer, it's going to get higher. So it's slowly creeping up because the radiation's basically smashing straight into us.
Just under 4 kilometers away from the exploded nuclear reactor is the infamous city, Pripyat.
We've just got to the ghost town Pripyat. Our guide, Igor, is taking us to see the swimming pool.
The city was built alongside the nuclear power plant to house employees. Prior to the disaster, there was a population of about 50,000 people, and the average age was just 26 years old.
God. You can't really believe it, like, just how a whole town just ends up evacuated, a complete ghost town, no one around, just now for our viewing dark touristic pleasures. It's kind of crazy.
We visited a primary and secondary school. I was stunned to walk into a classroom piled with children's gas masks on the floor.
It's like a river of gas masks.
There's a certain concentration camp vibe that gets mixed up in all the old Soviet propaganda. Everything feels more sinister than it is, but no murders or wrongdoings occurred here. It just feels like that.
This room was a school war museum.
School War Museum.
You can see hell. This is, map like Barbaros flag or Blitzkrieg.
And now, heading onto the roof. Wow. So, this is a town. You can see the nuclear reactor where the blast was just over there. So this whole town had to be evacuated. They just up and left, they had to. They couldn't bring stuff because of radiation and contamination. Here is the infamous amusement park. Obviously no one can use it anymore. I think one of the weird things about this amusement park area is it's the first time you kind of see some colour. And it really sticks in your mind because of that. I think if you've been interested in visiting this place, you're going to have seen pictures definitely of the Ferris wheel. Because it attracts the eye. The yellow, like, there's nothing else that we've come past so far that kind of draws you in like that does.
Leaving Pripyat town, I noticed how nature was taking back the land. Young saplings were bursting through the tarmac, and in another 50 years, it'd be a lost world. Igor took us to an area that wasn't on our itinerary. The Woodpecker, or Chernobyl 2 as it's called. Visible from miles around, the Woodpecker is a gigantic spy radar built by the Russians.
It's massive. So much metal and wire. Looks like something out of Jurassic Park, keep the velociraptors or the T-Rexes in. So the story is, that this radar system was experimental, and then when they were going to kind of get it like ready and working, the disaster struck. So they basically just ended up completely abandoning the project.
I later found out that beneath my feet was a large underground complex that was used for anti-missile defense. And also, if the woodpecker falls over, it could cause a micro-earthquake which would directly affect the unstable nuclear reactor, possibly destroying the concrete case and leaking out more radiation. Drawing to an end, we passed through a contamination screening. The technology was questionable. We stopped for a late lunch in the Chernobyl canteen, followed by another contamination screening.
This is the final contamination screening before I leave. And I'm not contaminated. And that's it. I've had a great day, great fun. Definitely come to Chernobyl, it's amazing. Channel 5 Studios, and I've got my outfit on and I'm just getting makeup done for the promo materials. The photos were taken against a white background,